Hi guys, welcome to another episode on my channel. My name is Ramsey and I am shooting the second episode in a series called Building Effective Agents. In last episode, we looked at a technique or a pattern actually called prompt chaining. If you'd like to know a little more about it, please head over and view that video and then you can come back here and watch this one. You can also watch this one without watching the other one. It's a standalone kind of idea concept, so you'll still understand it, though I would highly recommend that you go watch the other one, if for nothing else, than to get me some much needed attention from the algorithm. That said, we're going to hop right into it. Right, so today, before I just talk about routing, which is the concept that we're going to look at, I'm going to look at agentic systems. Now, what we did with prompt chaining and what we're doing today with routing is building something called an AI workflow. That is different from an AI agent. They're both agentic systems, but they're slightly different. AI workflows are for when you have predefined paths that your data is supposed to take or that your tasks are supposed to follow, in which case some of the stops or nodes on that path are going to involve LLMs, and so you will have LLM calls. That's what makes it an AI workflow as opposed to just a normal workflow. An agent is a lot more autonomous. In this case, a human gives an agent a task. The agent has access to tools, retrieval, and memory, takes action to interact with its environment, which could be a browser, it could be anything, and gets feedback from this environment and uses that to figure out what's the next step to take. Once it's done, either from predefined rules or it determines that itself, it stops and gives a response to the user who can give feedback. The best example of this that's become really popular is, the deep research type feature that you see on OpenAI's ChatGPT and a lot of other places. That's technically an agent, though you can have agents do all sorts of stuff. What we are building is an AI workflow. So you can still make agents, and this is a whole other thing we'll look at in future episodes, but AI workflows are also very powerful. And they help to turn a lot of the processes in your business into automated workflows. So, of course, you know that at the heart of any AI workflow or agent is something we call the augmented LLM. Basically, it's just the LLM, which could be GPT-4 or the reasoning models from, Gemini, OpenAI, Claude, etc. And then it has access to tools, it has access to memory, so it can remember past conversations. And it also has access to retrieval, so either a vector database or a normal database. I guess normal is a very ambiguous one. Vector database, relational database, graph database, whatever. And without further ado, let's jump right into routing. Routing solves an interesting problem. Sometimes you have input coming in and you're not sure beforehand what category it's going to fall into. Like, let's say it's in the form of free-form text. In that case, you want an LLM to intelligently decide what category it falls into and send it down the right branch. The branch could go to further LLM calls, or alternatively, it could go to more programmatic nodes. We're going to implement this in a very simple format. And just to give you an idea of the specific workflow we're going to build, let's say you have a customer ticket. This customer might either be having a billing issue or a technical issue. But you won't know beforehand because they'll just write a lot of text. It'll be free text. It'll either be on your website chat or it will be via email. It could be coming from anywhere. The point is, you need to be able to categorize it really quickly and then send it to the appropriate place. In this case, as you can see from the example, you could send it to other LLM calls. But in this case, I'm either sending it to Slack or Gmail for the appropriate team to work on it. So the LLM categorizes the ticket and then sends it down the right chain. Right. And without further ado, I think I say that too much. Let's jump in and build this. So I had built this previously, but we'll walk through it again just so you can get the idea. Like we said, the actual message could come from anywhere. And if it's coming from outside of n8n, because we're going to use n8n today to do this, you can have a webhook here. I'm not going to use a webhook here for simplicity, but in future workflows, we'll probably use webhooks so you can understand. For this particular workflow, we're just going to use a chat trigger so that we can send messages to the LLM. Like, for example, say I want to say that I have a billing issue. As you can see, you could click on open chat, or you could click on open chat here. This one only pops up when you hover over the node. So I just click on that and I say, I unsubscribed, but my credit card still got charged. What's wrong? This is a very concerned client. So you send that and it should execute that node successfully. And you can see the chat trigger now has an output and the specific message is in the chat input key. So what do we do with that? Automatically, we take it to an LLM. In this case, we're going to go through advanced AI, and I'm going to pick specifically the text classifier, which is pretty cool because it does the branching automatically. I had done an implementation of this previously where I used an information extractor, and you would see it somewhere here. But with an information extractor, because it does any number of attributes, you need a switch node afterwards to route the message down the right branch. So to make it easier, we're going to use a text classifier for this demo so you can actually see it happen automatically. Now, I did write a prompt before for the text classifier, and it's basically in the form, extract the ticket type as billing or technical from the incoming message. Now, you don't need this output format. I had created that for the information extractor. In this case, the text classifier is automatically going to know. So I'm just going to switch this to an expression so I can add dynamic variables in here. And I'm going to pull in the chat input. And now it has the message from my chat trigger coming in for the LLM to analyze. And then we're going to have two categories. So one will be billing, and the description will be that this is a billing issue. And ideally with the prompt and just like naming the category, that should be enough. But you can also add a description to sort of cover all your bases, And then another category will be technical. And the description will be that this is a technical issue. And now I'm going to just get out of here for a moment and add a model here. So you need an actual AI model to work with the text classifier. I prefer OpenAI's models, though you can use any of the ones in n8n. There are lots of options. So we're just going to go to OpenAI, and my favorite happens to be GPT 4.1. I'm going to pick the latest one. You have credentials to connect with, and I will leave a link in the description for how to do the connection with OpenAI from n8n docs. And then once you do the connection, you can come in and configure this. But now we have a proper text classifier that does billing and technical issues, connected to an OpenAI chat model. And we'll even give it a name. Maybe we'll say that we are classifying the tickets. So classify ticket. And then off of that, we can also rename this to when customer ticket. So customer ticket received should be enough. Customer ticket received. It's really good to name and document anything you're doing, especially if you're working in shared teams so other people can understand what your code does. But now if I come here and I test the step, we'll see if it properly categorizes my text, and it does because it put it in the billing branch. As you can see, it's the green one. So what happens after that? Well, it goes to Slack, and there are lots of options under Slack, as you can see. But specifically, what we want is to send a message. I did set up a Slack channel separately. It's called New Channel here. And there are Slack credentials. I'll put in a link to the n8n documentation for how to set this up. It's actually relatively easy. But then where are we sending the message to? So we're just going to change this to channel because I'm sending it to a channel, presumably the billing team. And the channel would show up on a list here, and we go for New Channel. The actual message text is going to be from the chat trigger, the chat input. And so we're going to change this into an expression and then pull that in. and it's going to go to Slack. So if I test the step, it should come in on my Slack here. As you can see, I unsubscribed from my credit card and still got charged. There's this little message here linking back to the workflow. You can remove that by coming down to the Slack node, then to options, then include link to workflow, and then toggle that off. And now if you test the step, you should get the same message, but without that. Right, so that's one branch sorted out. Now, what about the Gmail branch for the technical team? Well, to do that, let's first come back here at the chat and just send a different kind of message so we can have it go to the right branch. And I would say something like, my app keeps crashing. What's wrong? Maybe he's a little more concerned than the other guy. And if we send that, you can see that it gets executed properly, but this time it goes down to the technical branch because it was a technical issue. So far, the text classifier is working pretty well. Then we add the Gmail node, that one right there. And as you can see, there are lots of options, but specifically what we want to do is send a message. So we have that. Gmail credentials, again, I'll put in a link to the n8n docs for you to help you set this up. But some other stuff you need to fill in is the email to send to. I'll just send it to myself. And the subject, maybe new technical issue. And then we can have it as issue, and then change this to expression, of course, and drag in whatever we have from the customer ticket. So that would be this, right? And actually, if I test this step, let's see, should get the email sent. So if I come back to my inbox and check, I should see a new technical issue. Again, there's an attribution at the end. You can remove that by coming back to the Gmail node, options, append n8n attribution, and toggle that off. And now if I test the step again, I should be able to see right here, new technical issue, but without the attribution. Actually, that kind of reminds me, going back to the Slack node for a quick minute, as you can see here, the message itself has no context. So I might come back here to the actual message that goes to the Slack node and say issue, and that just makes it a little better. And with that, we're done. That is pretty much what routing looks like. Now, there are two types of routing in this case. So you can have either deterministic or non-deterministic routing. Deterministic routing is when you know the data that's coming in, it's well structured and it's very predictable. So like, let's say the customer ticket gets tagged somehow with either billing or technical, and then this comes in as a JSON field. In that case, you can just easily use a switch to take it to the appropriate branch. But sometimes, and this is more likely, you're going to get free-form texts. That's how the customer is going to send their message. And in that case, you need an LLM classifier, which then does the switch. If you use an information extractor, like in this case, which isn't important really for this demo, you would just need to do the switch. But to be on the right track, text classifier is sometimes better because it does the branching for you automatically. But that's pretty much it. That's routing in a nutshell. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any questions, I'll try to respond to all comments as soon as I can. In the next episode, we're going to look at a totally different concept. Let me know if you have any ideas for videos you want me to do as well. Otherwise, you have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.